All right, let's dive into something a lot of guys struggle with. Approach anxiety. We've got some great stuff from Brad P., a dating coach. Helps men build confidence, and overcome this fear. We're going deep into an interview from approachanxiety.com, and it's packed with his own stories and advice. You ready?
Absolutely. It's interesting. Brad Pitt doesn't just focus on like pickup lines or anything. He goes deeper,
Yeah.
like to the root,
Yeah.
courage.
Mm.
He talks about how he used to struggle with social anxiety, like in general,
Yeah.
not even just with women.
So it's not just about like approaching women, it's about feeling comfortable in any social situation.
Yeah, exactly. He tells this crazy story about jumping out of his dad's moving car.
Why?
Yeah, in high school, because he thought he was late for driver's ed.
Yeah.
And all these girls saw it happen, attractive girls. And he talks about how that experience, it really made him scared of embarrassment. And it affected, how he handled social situations for years.
Wow. Yeah, I can see how that would like stick with you. Those early experiences can really mess with your confidence. But how did he turn things around?
He kind of stumbled into exposure therapy before he even knew what it was. He had this job handing out flyers. And he started to see a connection between that and approaching women.
Okay, I'm not seeing the connection yet.
Well, both involve putting yourself out there
Right.
and facing rejection. He couldn't control whether people took the flyer, just like you can't control if someone is receptive when you approach them. And Brad P. said this helped him shift his focus from the outcome to just the action, which is huge for building confidence.
So instead of worrying about getting a yes, he focused on just putting himself out there.
Yeah, exactly. And he realized the more he did it, the less scary it became.
Hmm.
It's like anything else, practice makes progress.
Makes sense. But what about rejection? That's got to be a huge part of approach anxiety, right?
Absolutely. And Brad P. had this really interesting way of handling it. Instead of like letting rejection crush him, he would immediately approach another woman using the same line.
So he just kept going, even after getting rejected.
Yeah. He was determined to reframe how he saw rejection. He figured by approaching someone else right away, he was proving it wasn't about him necessarily. Maybe it was just bad timing. Or the other person was having a bad day. This helped him detach from the emotional sting of it and just keep moving forward.
That's interesting. So did he share any like specific lines or openers that he used?
He mentions using techniques and lines he was learning early on, but he doesn't get into specifics in this interview. He talks about developing bolder strategies as he got more confident, which led to him using humor as a filtering tool.
Humor. How does that work?
He had this opener, and I'm not sure I'd recommend this for everyone, but he'd walk up to a woman and ask, "Did we have sex?" Obviously as a joke.
Whoa, okay. That's bold. But I can see how that would be effective in a way. Like weed out anyone who doesn't have a sense of humor.
Right. And it takes a certain level of confidence to pull off something like that.
Yeah.
Which brings us to Brad P.'s main point. He says that building that inner courage is more important than any specific line or routine.
So it's not about having the perfect opener. It's about having the confidence to approach anyone, no matter what.
Exactly. He even compares it to overcoming a fear, like parasailing. You face your fear, and then on the other side is this feeling of accomplishment and freedom. And that spills over into other areas of your life. It's not just about dating, it's about becoming a more courageous person overall.
Okay, so this is all great, but for someone listening who's feeling totally overwhelmed by all this, like, where do they begin? What are some practical steps they can take?
Well, Brad P. has some good tips for this.
Hmm.
He recommends starting with really low-pressure interactions, like just asking someone for the time, or directions.
Baby steps, just getting comfortable talking to people.
Right. He also mentions some softer openers that don't feel so intense, like telling a woman that your therapist told you to talk to 5 new people every day.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that one.
Yeah. And if even that feels too much, he suggests nonverbal approaches, like starting a thumb war.
A thumb war. Interesting. But I guess it's all about just breaking the ice somehow.
Exactly. The point is to find something that feels doable for you and just start doing it.
It's like the more you do it, the easier it gets. But Brad P. also talked about how, like, how much you're attracted to someone can actually make approach anxiety worse.
Right. He and the interviewer were talking about how the stakes just feel higher when you're going up to someone you find really attractive. It's like your brain is telling you, don't mess this up.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's like all the pressure is just like magnified when you're really into someone. So how do you deal with that?
I think that's where Brad P.'s, emphasis on building that courage comes in. Like,
Mhm.
if you're confident in yourself and you know you can handle rejection, that it's like the level of attraction matters less. You're approaching from a place of strength no matter what.
So it's not just about being able to talk to women, it's about being the kind of guy who can handle any situation with confidence.
Exactly. And then Brad P makes this really fascinating connection. He says that not having the courage to approach can actually affect other parts of dating, like physical escalation.
Wait, hold on. How are those two connected?
Okay, so he explains that, if you're not confident enough to approach a woman, then you might also hesitate to, make a move physically
Hmm.
later on. It's all coming from that same lack of courage.
Huh. That's pretty interesting. So, like, building that courage early on can help you throughout the whole dating process?
Yeah, it's like setting yourself up for success. But, I'm curious. This all sounds great, but do you think Brad P still experiences social anxiety?
Hmm.
Like, he's a dating coach, but does he still struggle with it himself sometimes?
It's a good question. Does he talk about that in the interview?
He does. And he's actually really open about it. He even tells this funny story about feeling anxious, asking a librarian for help finding a book on social anxiety.
Oh, the irony. That's kind of reassuring, though, right? Like, even someone like Brad P deals with those feelings.
Yeah, it is. It just shows that confidence is a journey. It's not like you reach some destination and then you're done. We all have moments of vulnerability, even the experts.
So it's not about becoming some fearless person. It's about, like, learning to manage those feelings.
Exactly. And I think that's really encouraging for anyone listening who struggles with this stuff. You don't have to wait until you're totally free of anxiety to, start taking action. You can start building courage now.
One step at a time. So to recap what we've learned from Brad Pitt, it's not about pickup lines, it's about courage. That courage can help you deal with rejection, improve other parts of dating, and it even affects like other areas of your life. Plus, even the experts still get anxious sometimes. Now, how can we apply all this to our listeners' lives?
Well, the big takeaway for me is that overcoming approach anxiety isn't just about, getting better with women. It's about being a more confident guy.
It's about being the kind of guy who like walks into a room and just feels comfortable,
Right.
and that confidence is attractive.
Totally. And Brad P talks about how confidence comes from, pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, like facing your fears. He used handing out flyers and approaching women,
Yeah.
even after rejection, to kind of desensitize himself to that fear.
So the idea is to use those uncomfortable situations to grow.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be anything crazy. It could be something small,
Mm-hmm.
like starting a conversation with a stranger or speaking up more in
It's
meetings.
about those little challenges that push you.
Yeah, you got it. And the more you face your fears, the more confident you become and the more you realize you can handle anything.
It's like a muscle, right? The more you work it out, the stronger it gets. And Brad Pitt makes the point that confidence isn't just, some personality trait you're born with. It's something you can learn and develop.
And the cool thing is that the confidence you build in one area of your life can actually spread to other areas.
Hmm.
So by tackling approach anxiety, you're not just getting better with women, you're building a foundation for success in your whole life.
Yeah, I like that. It's like unlocking a superpower.
And what's also great about Brad P's approach is that he, he makes the whole process seem less intimidating. Like he shows that even experts have moments of doubt and fear.
It makes it more human, right? It's not about being superhuman. It's about managing those feelings.
Yeah, exactly. So the message is you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be willing to try, step outside your comfort zone, face your fears, and keep moving forward, even when it's hard.
Okay, I love that. Now, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with something to think about. What if we, like, instead of thinking about it as overcoming approach anxiety, we think about it as a chance to grow?
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. It's not about getting rid of something bad. It's about, building something good.
Exactly. Like, what if those, butterflies you feel aren't a bad thing? What if it's like a sign that you're about to have a breakthrough?
It's about taking those uncomfortable moments and using them to become a better version of yourself.
Right. It makes me think about how, Brad P said he still gets anxious sometimes. It shows us that it's not about like never feeling nervous. It's about, learning how to deal with those feelings and not letting them control you.
Yeah, like when he talked about feeling anxious, asking the librarian for help finding that book on social anxiety, it just shows that everyone has those moments.
Totally. Even the experts. It's like he's saying, it's okay to feel nervous, but don't let that stop you.
Yeah, it's about recognizing those feelings and then choosing to, do it anyway.
So, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this. What's one small fear you can face today to start getting out of your comfort zone? It could be anything, like giving someone a compliment, or raising your hand in a meeting, or trying that new restaurant.
Just take that first step, even if it's small. You're building that courage every time you do.
And remember, you don't have to do this alone. Talk to a friend, find community online, maybe work with a coach like Brad P.
The important thing is to take action. Start small, and you'll see how much you can achieve when you have the courage to go for it.
This has been a great deep dive. It's obvious that, getting over approach anxiety isn't just about women. It's about being a more confident man.
And hey, maybe that confidence will help you meet some amazing women along the way.
Right. But even more importantly, it's about, being the best version of yourself. So keep learning, keep growing, and don't underestimate yourself. Until next time.